And we are live, folks. I like to say folks, so people know I'm folksy. You know, like me and Joe Biden. We are live, okay. I'm not just losing my mind, which is good. So I thought Jason Scholl was German because I have prepared somewhat. Did you guys see any of that flooding? Oh no, I've heard it's been around the region, but we missed a lot of it. Actually, our river where I'm from is below the mark after a dry spell. So we're like the opposite of being flooded, but also, I mean, a pretty high up end of the country in terms of what do you call it? Can't remember the English term for like how high a place is, like above sea level. That's the one I'm thinking. So hello everyone. We have some of our classics here. Latitude, no, I meant like above sea level. Altitude, yes, probably. Elevation, yep. I'm trying to think of it, and the Serbian term is nadmorska visina, which literally means above sea height. So that's what was throwing me off, and I don't want to use an improper term. So as I said, hello everyone. After a long war with Baron Strawberry for who's going to stream less, he broke and did a stream. So now I can stream as well. And that's what actually happened, and not an excuse. All right. So, if you're talking about land height, the term is elevation. Yeah. Posh, I lost my wrench. Can I get a new one? First of all, we call it a spanner here. Second of all right, I assume it's a new profile. Let me get my phone. God bless you too, Kirk. Let's try and set you up with a spanner. Oh, new phone, nice. So go to my account like a bloody narcissist. Go here. Crispy Johnson. Let's see if I remember how to do this. Okay. It's moderator, standard moderator. There you go. Okay, air height such as airplane is generally altitude. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, old Joe. I signed up to some channel with you and some person you just mentioned yesterday. Oh yeah, I need to grab that link. Baron Strawberry and I, it was his idea and I loved it. We're starting a channel, a shared channel that's going to, okay, there it is. Chicken puberty still cool after 30, asking for a friend. I don't know if you're trolling or are you a legitimate tard of the bear kind, but okay. Okay, we're back with another spanner. I still love the fact that it's an insult to call someone a spanner. Crispy, next Kotel stream I see live, we will find out. Okay. Jason did a slow walk. Okay, I won't interject into your conversations. So, as I said, we are back, and I was going to start with a song, but I want to have a German here, or Austrian, but it's an Austrian band I mentioned before on Jim Bob's channel, because I remember hearing it, and I had to convince myself, and I still do, that it's actually German, because I feel like I'm having a stroke multiple times per sentence, or per verse, I suppose. Per verse. That's some gravy right there. So that will happen if we have someone who is confirmed. The cigarette is here. Actually went out. Are the Jacobites lost descendants of Albanians? I'm not at liberty to discuss that. So that link I posted, that will be me and Baron Strawberry's channel, and weekly we will do like reaction videos, mostly to, for now at least, to red pill content, because we share a massive dislike for the red pillars and those type of low IQ tards or grifters. They're not necessarily stupid, they could just be grifting. But we will have fun there, so subscribe if you're interested in such a thing. Hopefully we'll get it started this week. Congratulations to Baron for his 5th child. I know he's busy, but we'll figure out some type of schedule. Great stream on Cotel the other day, Posh. Thank you. It was very sudden. You know, he asked me, "Hey, I'm doing a stream on Serbian Orthodoxy. Would you like to hop on?" And I was like, "Absolutely." Didn't have much prep time, but he assured me, you know, he already had prepared everything, so I could just go off of memory and stuff. So I was happy to contribute what I could. Because again, it's not my area of study, but you know, I grew up here. So you go through school, you read in your free time, and you pick up on a lot of things. So many birthdays of people I know and people I watch online in the last few days. People get very busy near the end of winter, start of spring, it seems. Most people I know, actually it's not, but a lot of people I know are also very much from September onwards. I just logged on and am confused. Why does the Srbin have a posh British accent? Well, Đurađe, Vujčiću, I picked up the accent when I was a boy, and I watched The Lord of the Rings and heard Saruman. And ever since I was a boy, I've been practicing with this accent, so now I'm very used to it. Here's a funny little tidbit. If I'm speaking with someone else who isn't a native English speaker, you know, whether... so I'm not saying when I just speak Serbian. Yeah, 5 children, awesome. And if you saw his stream, his wife, Irene, is also epically based. But if I speak Serbian, I just need to introduce like a phrase, especially if you're talking about like video games or something, so you just need a phrase introduced. I will actually speak it with Serbian phonetics. But if I need to maintain like multiple sentences or something, I find it easier to speak with a British accent than with Serbian phonetics, because I'm already accustomed to it. Saruman accent spot on. Thank you. I had no idea I was going to grow up with this voice and sound like a villain, but here we are. Yeah, it's the Queen's English, or currently actually it's the King's English. But that's basically, if you've heard non-posh British accents, yeah, you had a lot of fun and probably a lot of confusion. But yeah, I didn't grow up with any parochial English or anything. It was just how you practice it. also, of course, watching films and playing video games, you pick up on a lot. Sounds great, legend. I was born and raised in Toronto, so I sound like a kanadska seljačina when speaking English. Okay, so if you know the term seljačina, you are used to Serbian. It's what we would call an augmentative form of seljak, which means peasant. Happy to have you here, Juraj. I assume you found me through Cotel, through David Patrick Harry. Oh, here's Shareholders United. Hello, CFU. Okay, we won't call you FU. Thank you, Liz Antoinette. Someone in DPH's comment section said Bosch was in his 20s the entire time. I do sound SOS Seljak de Seljak. What who's smoking? Tobacco. Do they say tobacco? Tobacco? No, tobacco. Sorry, there you go. You praised my English, and I slip immediately. So it's just a fun stream right now. As I said, I turned 30 last Friday, and I remember I was on Jim Bob's channel when I turned 28, and we were celebrating me getting out of the 27 club. So that was fun, but strange how time passes. But I know people sort of went, "Oh, you're getting a bit older. How does it feel?" And people think I'm joking when I say I've literally no problem with turning 80 tomorrow. I'm an old man at heart. It's a specific brand. It's a type of tobacco called Drum, local. So I doubt you've heard of it. Like, things are extra. It's not as expensive as you would find in places like Germany, but it's pretty expensive. So you find local ones. Happy belated birthday. Thank you, Redfish. Chronia Pola. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Right, nice. We've got 40 people here. Do you think time is going faster? Yes, as in, like, I don't think time itself is going faster, but how we experience it. And I've been thinking a lot about it, and it's because no one's bored anymore. You've got, your telephone is an endless source of, if not entertainment, at least distraction. So you can watch whatever you'd like. If you're a Dutch, Drum, Tabak. Ich fume. What's this? What combination is that? I hope you mean Deutsch, but never mind. Rauchen. Because fume, I think you mean like French, like fumer, to smoke. It literally means smoke. Like the verb is to smoke, like a chimney smoking or expelling smoke. Same with Rauch, Turco-German. Yeah, I gathered it meant I smoke Drum tobacco. But I don't know what the Dutch are doing there. They smoke something else. Cheap American tobacco, so probably out of my budget. Yeah, I go for cheap as well. I'm too addicted to the process, not as much to the chemicals. So if I'm doing something else, I don't feel the need to smoke. And I realize that because there are people, I know Norm used to do this. There's a now, unfortunately, late Serbian singer called Predrag Živković Tozovac. People who have a cigarette, like unlit cigarette. It's a Dutch company. Was it called Drum? That means like road from Greek, dromos. Okay. Have you tried smoking a pipe? Yes, but like that tobacco is especially expensive because it's like a hobby more than actually smoking nowadays. But you can't use like regular tobacco you would use for rolling cigarettes. Yeah, you have to get a special type of, I don't know, it's cut like larger or something so more air can go through it. And I know people have always been telling me I need to switch to that, but I only sound fancy. I'm not that fancy, actually. But I've learned where the company is from. I had just assumed. Damn, your pipe tobacco is cheap. In Europe, you've got, and we, as David Patrick Harry mentioned, we are trying to get into the EU, which means that cigarettes have to, cost you half a kidney. And by the way, which is one of my favorite things to bring up for people, legalize drugs, you'll do damage to the black market or something. No, no, you don't. Especially, for example, I know about Britain, like alcohol and tobacco, you earn more money on the black market with those than you do with cannabis. And the problem then obviously being the government can say, we've reduced smoking and stuff because you count them by sales. And because you can say, the sales are now lower, so people smoke less. Meanwhile, it's switched to the black market. And the bureaucrats have their statistic. The criminals have their profits, and the pro-drug people can pretend like they've solved something. So yeah. Damn it. I assume most things are cheaper in the US than in Serbia. We're not a rich country, but we're an expensive country, which is a great combo to have. Okay, it's cheaper than cigarettes, but is it cheaper than tobacco for the cigarettes? 25 euros for 30 grams? You're in Ireland, right, Dr. Crispy? Christ. That's quite a lot. But hey, Ireland is actually doing fairly well economically. So good job getting one over on the Brits. And, despite my ranting about the Irish, that's mostly because of Andrew Wilson. And because I talk about basically every nation with disdain. It's being part of being from the Balkans, not just from Serbia. But almost Australian prices, like Australia should just be sunk. We should just drill holes in it like Bugs Bunny style and just sink it. It's just full of death and tyranny, and that's basically it. I know a lot of Serbs and Greeks are there, but sacrifices have to be made. So recently, okay, let's start some ranting. I'm all up for it. I've seen people turned on the Haka. Is it Haka? I think it is. That New Zealand, what are they called? The Maori, like they do. It's Serbian brothel curtain. Yeah, because when you're in a brothel, the first thing you want to think about is your grandmother. Thank you, made by Jimbo. A quarter pound of fine pipe tobacco for $25. So let's see, a quarter pound. I think a pound is 0.46 kilogram divided by 4. That's about 11 grams or something. What am I thinking? 110. Okay, yeah, that's fairly cheaper. So the Haka dance, and it's so bloody cringe. I understand that, like, oh, look at us, we're like making faces and acting like we're having a stroke. That's going to scare people. And then I obviously went through the comments, and then most people are like, oh yeah, like a white person doesn't understand native culture. Like, it's not about whites or anyone else finding another culture. It's just cringe. There are plenty of cringe things that natives around Europe would do, but we're just not cringe. Except the French, they are cringe, and the Belgian aren't people. So someone in the Cotel stream said you live in Notting Hill and are married to a German. Well, I wasn't informed of it. So I still prefer the theory that I'm from Kentucky. But yeah, the Haka dance, and then you find these natives like, oh, we're being oppressed, and in the comments I also start reading about these other people. They had a similar name to Maori, like I think the Maori. Okay, I think Mori is how it's spelled. And basically, the Maori went to their island, killed them, and ate them all. So, like, oh, is this? I thought, okay, is this guy just making it up to do some like edgy right-wing thing on Twitter? And nope, they ate the Maoris. So yeah. That was a fun thing to read, and apparently in Maori culture it was the greatest humiliation to kill your enemy, eat them, and turn them into excrement. That was, and then they ate some Brits, which is probably why they lost afterwards. Do you see what the British eat? Like, that might as well just be drinking straight poison. It's like Western people when they don't understand gusla. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Because it's how many people like the Mongolian version of what gusla are, or what's it called? The Aborigines play the didgeridoo. Yeah, people like the didgeridoo, even though it's pretty basic. So I don't think so. It's just that they're basically doing it for everything now. If it was like a football or whatever, no, not they don't play football. They play rugby. If it was a rugby thing, like okay, like fun little time. That's what sports are for. People act very like adolescents. It's a relaxing thing. But now you get the youngest member of the New Zealand Parliament, and it's a woman. So it's like a 30-year-old woman doing it, and it's even more cringe, because if it's someone who's going to beat you to death and eat you, like, okay, you're trying to be scary. Like, what's she doing? Cannibal diet better than carnivore diet. Yeah, that's the final pill in the red pill community. That's when you graduate from it. So yeah, it's not that fun. And then I've been reading up on also the Native Americans, because there was a war between the Maori and the Native Americans in the comments, calling each other's pathetic and losing. Meanwhile, the Brits basically crushed both. But who they're trying to get one over each other who lost worse. But then, funnily enough, I then run into like Shane Gillis and Matt McCusker talking about the natives, which wasn't only informative. Like, Shane is probably the best comedian around right now. And they talk about the practices, and it's great when you listen to these things. You get the details. When I mention someone who is brutal, I tend to mention the Assyrians. You can mention the Aztecs. The Romans were pretty brutal as well, but I mean, the Romans were, they didn't make basically a religion out of torturing people, but the Assyrians and the Aztecs sure did. Yeah, Shane is awesome. One of those very naturally funny people. Posh, how much do you think history is accurate? I don't know. I can't tell. The problem with that is a lot of people will, obviously a lot of it is wrong. Dating of things is wrong. Often, I like to mention Troy. People thought it was like a mythical place, like this city that was conquered and burned and stuff. But turns out, no, it was an actual place, and they discovered it. Göbekli Tepe is currently shedding a lot of light on very early civilizations in modern day Turkey. What else was found? Like Garrett was also discovered like in the 20th century. A lot of places are being discovered and are reshaping how we think of history. I don't know if you guys know this, but like they found Sodom, like the city, and the person who talks about it, I'll have to find it and maybe share it in community notes, not community notes, the community tab later on. There is excellent evidence that actually it was destroyed by a very strong, a very short burst of massive amounts of energy, because you have the formation of certain crystals there, and they thought it was a glazing on the pottery, but glazing, in at least as far as I know, in that region of the world, not sure about the rest, wouldn't have been in that region until the Ottomans. So obviously they found Southern California. Nice one. Panchuchin, Pankuchin. Lots of variations on that. Hello, D Sims. Yeah, I gave Baron Strawberry a spanner. I'm not sure why. He's going to have the rest of that Irish whiskey he started on when was it? Tuesday or Friday or Monday, and things are going to go to hell. Bro, do you maybe plan to start Orthodox content in Serbia? No, not really. Over 90, I think, percent of my audience is American specifically, not just non-Serbian. It's American. And in Serbian, actually, you have a lot of resources you can go to. You can go to like your priests and stuff. So not really. Maybe a video now and then. But this is for English. Is Serbia real? Serbia, it's more than real. It's really beautiful. That's as close as I can get to a Jordan Peterson impersonation. Someone asked me something earlier on. Evangelizing Serbia, yeah. Does Serbia need a new Arkan or a new Ceca? Don't we have the current Ceca, actually? Or has something happened that I'm not aware of? Sector made videos on Sodom and Gomorrah and showed sulfur balls. Sector, that's a good one. I assume you mean Miroljub Petrovic, the bastard. I made memes about him. It depends on what you mean by real, exactly. I just bought Paddy's Share whiskey on offer, Baron. It's probably crap. Hey, as long as it's technically whiskey. Yeah, I mean, I'll leave discussing whiskey to the Irish. I don't like whiskey. Not bio, bato. Bio is like the other guy, like the Singerica or whatever. The two of them did a podcast, and it's like the lowest IQ thing I've ever seen. Okay, aside from like basically what is a Sixth-day Adventist in Serbia pretending to be Orthodox and promoting veganism, which is what Pavle Kovacevic has mentioned. Thought on Francis's latest trick. I don't know. I hope like Serbian churches in majority Catholic countries can cope with all the newcomers. So he might be trying to undermine Orthodoxy by flooding small Orthodox communities with newly minted Orthodox inquirers. I want to try the fancy fruity Serbian whiskey stuff. Yeah, it's nonsense. It's obvious, and Jay has done excellent content on it. But that's what has been explained, like nostra aetate, which is Latin for our state. And so I'd like to say the absolute aetate of the Catholic Church is just damn it, I make myself laugh too much. We mentioned Shane earlier, and there are people who really like the fact that he laughs at his own jokes, but people either really like that or loathe it with a passion. I live in Romania, and the number of Protestants are growing. Is the same happening in Serbia? Not that I'm aware of, but Romania actually did historically have like the Lutherans trying to push in and stuff. And it's probably the most Catholic friendly of the Orthodox churches. Or am I mistaking something there? Solzhenitsyn. But, you know, the patriarch of the Romanian church is pretty friendly to the Pope. Meanwhile, you know, not so much the case in other Orthodox countries, except maybe Greece, but even Greece, it's mostly the hierarchy. I assume the same is actually true in Romania. I don't think the Romanian people are all that pro-Catholic. Hey, did you connect with our Orthodox brothers from the United States, Jay Andrew? I think that's an interesting topic. Oh, how did it? I'm sorry. I actually jumped on, a couple of years ago, I jumped on one of Made by Jim Bob streams, and we became buddies, so I was there a couple of times a week, basically. And then, especially in that initial very Orthodox, very philosophy-heavy content, you know, so I was in the right place at the right time. And then I specifically remember I met Andrew on one of Jim Bob's streams, and it was summer when he emailed me and said, well, Posh, it's time to get some debates going. Okay. I can say about 5 words as Andrew, and then it falls apart. And I said, okay, that was my debate with Casimir on libertarianism, and I was on there for a few debates after that. And after a while, Jay actually messaged me on Twitter. I said, we should do a stream. So probably like his audience, people here were leaving comments or something. So he messaged me, which is, again, Jay is a very nice guy. He's actually very magnanimous, but he has this reputation of being mean, but a great guy. And that's how I streamed with him. He invited me. So that's it. And then obviously with Kotel from like the same thing happened there. So basically I was appearing all the time on Jim Bob streams until I started this. I think I still appear more often on his channel than on mine, so that's great. I had some topics I wanted to cover. Speaking of me and Baron Strawberry, Niche represent. I'm actually not from Niche. I'm near Niche, but I'm in the like the bishopric of Niche. So you confuse that with when I said birthplace of, of Emperor Constantine. I think they don't even say hello there. They just say hello, birthplace of Emperor Constantine the Great. Still have the curtains and will continue to have the curtains. Jay is very nice. The only people who think he's mean had their feelings hurt for being too big for their own britches. Yep. Alexius? No. I think Thomas Zdravkovic was born in Alexius. But back to our topic. Right. So the red pill, right? So things are falling apart among the Chrislam people. So people who think Christians should unite with Muslims to fight off the nasally endowed and the degeneracy and stuff like that, which is ridiculous, first of all. But the amount of Charisma Mysterion donates $10. Thank you very much, Charisma Mysterion. Says, you're a reader in your church, correct? I'm a reader and chanter as well. Curious, what advice you have for other readers, chanters? Anything learned from experience, and do you chant as well? Okay, so I'm not an ordained reader. I sometimes do it with the blessing of my priest. Yeah, because we have, thank God, we have a lot of people willing to do it. And as a new church is being built here, you know, we've got multiple priests in our church, so a lot of the time another priest would do it himself, etc. When we first started off, like when the reader first returned in our church, which recently celebrated 1,090 years since its building. What was I saying? Right, my friend and I, back in high school, wanted to go to seminary. So we went to our priest and he said, oh, you should be readers. You know, sometimes they are ordained, like permanently, but you can do so with the blessing of a priest. And because a lot of young people also started going to like seminary, which is what readers are supposed to be for. We're not supposed to be there, you know, oh, this guy's got a deep voice, let's get him on to read it. Father Stephen DeYoung makes this point excellently. He says, if you're going, like the position of a reader, as we say, čtec here in Serbia, is supposed to be part of training you for priesthood, because back in the day there were no seminaries. Like you would learn it like a trade almost, because the priest doesn't need help in the altar, but definitely if you're going to learn it, that's how you start, with very basic things, right? And then later on, you're ordained a deacon. After a while being a deacon, you become a priest. That's a traditional way of doing it. As far as also, we've got the chanters again. It's usually the priest. It's a bit crowded right now, as I said. The other church is being prepared. So what I would advise people is, early on, I was so focused on like tasks around like being a reader, because you would help out in the altar as well, you know, bring the priest the censer, etc., you know, take out the podium thing, I don't know what it's called in English, where the priest is going to be reading from the Gospels, etc. You're so focused on like tasks that you forget that you're in at a liturgy, you know. So don't forget that you're part of like more than weekly, but at least a weekly miracle. The preparation of the Eucharist and communion with God, the living God. So don't turn it into like an array of chores you're doing if you're a reader, and don't turn chanting into like a. I'm not saying like a concert. I mean in the sense of, okay, now I sing this, now I don't. Now I sing, now I don't. It's try to be more aware of where you are and what you're contributing to. That's the only advice I can give. I'm not really good at sharing these types of things as far as, I don't know, practicing singing. Be prepared, like, read in advance the epistle you're going to be reading from, you know, so you focus on proclaiming it so that people around you hear, and not, you know, be surprised yourself. Okay, good sized audience, posh, lots of lives, don't get this many. Yes, thank God, you know, we have 50 plus people here. Do you know a guy named Jovan Jurkovic? No, I don't. Did he really mean 30 and not 300? I think that's back to a tobacco topic. Okay, so thank you again. Charisma. It's not charisma, it's charisma. I've been misnaming you this entire time. Charisma Mysterion. As I said, like the Chrislam, unity, apparently. And one of the things that was going around was no Muslim ever called me Goy. So, like, yeah, it's not a term they use. So here's a solid bit of advice for readers. Practice the names in the Synaxarion before Orthros. And no worries about the name. Yeah, that names can be quite difficult, especially like, again, in Serbia, like all the fancy Greek names have been adapted to the language, and you're pretty used to them. But if you're in an English-speaking country with an Orthodox service, that's in English, and all of a sudden you have these names that are spelled in a Greek manner, basically just transliterated. That can be very confusing. Like I mentioned St. Cosmas Etolos in the DPH stream. Like, what you would probably think Aitolos, or like Aetolos. So you know, it's very important to practice your names. That's a good one. I haven't thought of it, you see, because like in Serbian, it just doesn't strike me as too strange a name. It just may sound a bit archaic or something. Is Serbia the Balkan country of all the Balkan countries? Interesting. It would depend. There are levels at which you can get it, but because we're in the center of it and we've got beef with everyone around us, except Romania. Okay, and Hungary isn't technically in the Balkans, but with all the Balkan countries, I think there's a good choice to be. What am I thinking? A good case to be made for it. What's the biggest dono Posh got? Jim Bob once donated $100. So thank you once again, Jim Bob. I can drink for like 2 days with it. That is actually cheap. Like beer is pretty cheap here. Muslim Muslim talking is better than a moose knuckle flapping its lips. That's a good one. Muslim. Yeah, no Muslim ever called me goy. Like, obviously, why would a Muslim call you a goy? But do you know what they'd have called you? A kafir. So a kuffar, a kafir. You're a disbeliever. And if you want to go via this route, the final chapter, chronologically speaking, like the Quran isn't chronologically ordered, which makes it for great reading. Imagine if it's ordered like the epistles are, basically, in the New Testament, like from longest to shortest, and then also by author, because they're epistles. They're not building like a narrative that's going on. But with the Quran, it's similar to, like, think of like the chapters of a gospel account and then arrange them from longest to shortest. And then, oh, Jesus starts preaching, and then he's crucified, and then he like multiplies the fish. That's basically logic is haram. There are actually certain orders. I can't remember what it is in Arabic, but basically philosophy is haram, and we don't ask things. We just say Allahu alam. Allah knows best. I think you win. I live in a Balkan country and visited Serbia 6 months ago. It was glorious and even more Balkan than my country. Well, if you're Greek, you're pretty fancy for a Balkan country. Charisma Mysterion donates an additional $10 and saying this is just for beers. Yamas. Oh, is it like Stiniamas? I don't know what the response to Stiniamas is. Probably also just saying Stiniamas. It means chairs in Greek. Yeah, I'd assumed Greek because of all of you Greek. What's a blue Skittle? A Xanax. Mashallah. I want to get some acres for cows and goats and a lawnmower to rotate crops. That's a based goal to have. Of the 66 books, what is your favorite Psalms? Is that a joke? My favorite psalm is obviously 50:51, like the penitent psalm. We read it in our daily prayers, and goodness gracious, it hits me every time. Like, don't cast me from thy side. Like, my heart. So yeah, obviously that one gets me every time. Do you know the origins of saying cheers? So when you're, I don't know if you mean that, or like dinking your glasses or mugs or whatever. That is apparently they're supposed to spill over into each other so that you don't poison the other person. That's what I've heard. Pavle Kovacevic sends 250 Serbian dinars and says, za dva jajeta košto bi ministeri. Košto. Dva jajeta. Yeah, thank you. Hvala, Pavle. Like, our politicians are legitimately tarded, because our president is basically one of the few that's competent, evil, but competent, so he surrounded himself with people who are pretty incompetent, so no one ever challenges him, which is great for a country to operate properly. Prost in Romanian means stupid. Prost in Serbian means simple. So there's probably overlap there. But Prost in German is what they say for cheers. I'm not sure what it means, but when you say cheers, there are either like the English route saying like for cheer, for happiness and joy, or the other route, which is like in French, in Greek, in Serbian, something for health. In French, you would say à nos santé, to our health, or à vos santé, to your health. Stiniamas. In Greek, we say na zdravje. Actually, we don't. The Russians say na zdravje. What do we say? We say živeli. I became Russian for a second there. We say živeli, which means may we live, which is kind of the same thing. We say na zdravje for when someone sneezes, like you would say Gesundheit, which is German for health. It's to cover all senses, taste, sight, smell, then clinking of glasses, sound. Really? I was not aware of that. The German R confuses me. Salut. No, actually it wouldn't be. In French, it's without the E at the end, so it's salut. Because obviously you don't read the T if there isn't an E after it in French. Why not? When was your B-Day, Posh? Not this Friday, the previous one. So where was it? The German R. Yeah. So when I was my first exposure to German were probably like old Yugoslav films where you've got Germans, because all Yugoslav films from a certain era were like how the partisan communists were gloriously triumphing over the evil Nazis and the royalist Chetniks, right? So you had Germans there. My first exposure was actually, there was a cartoon channel called Super, and that's where I first saw SpongeBob. I remember that. And in German, it's like SpongeBob Schwammkopf, which means sponge head, Schwammkopf. Then it was like music. So you have Rammstein. But what I realized when I started learning German, and I first discussed this with like a granduncle of mine who speaks it, and I asked him for some advice. So he said, okay, read this, read that. And if you've listened to Rammstein, they're from some more southern part of, I think, of Germany, but they don't speak the fancy German, so they don't say the uvula like r, like the French. They roll their R like r. So that's one thing he corrected. He says no, not Bavarian. It's not that. It's not that southern. Bavarian is basically like a different type of German. My German professor said he met like some Bavarians, like when they relax and start speaking Bavarianly, like he couldn't understand them. So not that far south, but and also for I, they say ish. They don't say ich, which is like the proper Hochdeutsch way of saying it, like ich, and they say ish. And in Serbian, ish is like what you shout to like shoo away chickens. So he said, my granduncle told me, you're not shooing away chickens, you're speaking German, so you say ich. And I never said ish again. But, that's how I was first introduced into it. But a lot of Germans don't use the uvula R, like the r. They roll their R's. Austrians all roll their R's. But if you speak like fancy literary Hochdeutsch, which just means High German, you will say r, like the French r. Yeah. So the German word Prost is derived from the Latin, which means prodesse, which means to be useful or to agree with, which literally means may it agree with you or may it be useful. Thank you, slow boy whiteboard. I'll emphasize that so people can see it. Please explain the word vazda for the Western audience. Vazda basically means all the time or every time, and it's, especially here in the South, it's almost always used when you're angry. Vazdanik gluposti. Posh, what's your official story of the Russian-Ukraine war where you are, and is the story between the people different? So Serbia is very pro-Russian, generally. As we talked about on David Patrick Harry's stream, like we have experience with the West radicalizing a certain genetically very closely related people into thinking they're part of the superior race, which would be the Croats in our case. And in the case of Eastern Europe, that would be specifically the Western Ukrainians, right? Who not only consider themselves, they're not just anti-Russian, they also slaughtered Poles in huge numbers, which is why you have so much resistance, popular resistance even in Poland, because the Polish would be fine with being anti-Russian, but asking to be pro-Ukrainian with the Banderists, the Yazovites, and those ilk who have like slaughtered and purged Poles from Ukraine. Yeah. So I remember when I was young, people would say, like, the Ukrainians are the Croats of Russia. But as far as like the political class avoids it completely, like they don't talk about it, because Serbia has always had to balance between being surrounded by NATO, that's more modern, but like Western powers, being close to Western powers, not really having a line to Russia, except over countries that aren't particularly pro-Russian, and our traditional relations with Russia. So the people, again, pro-Russia, politicians playing as neutrally as they can, because joining with either side would be basically a death knell for Serbia. Like that, there's no getting out of it. Like it's a mess. As far as I'm concerned, I am pro-Russian, but that's because I loathe the Banderites and Ukraine. That doesn't mean I want Ukrainians to die. Why would I want Ukrainians to die? Except for the Banderites, because I know people laugh like Nazis are good. Nazis suck. Nazis have destroyed not just millions of white people, if you're some Wignat, they've also destroyed the idea of white people having pride in their own nation. But yeah, I hope and pray that it ends as soon as possible. But the American State Department, if you didn't know, like last Sunday, the world almost came to a nuclear exchange. But here's how bad things were. It was the DOD, American Department of Defense. They basically, the Pentagon went to Biden and said, yeah, we're not giving the permission to use these ballistic missiles. Are you mad? So you have a political class that's so deranged that the Pentagon has to pull them back. So yeah, Rammstein Deutschland, the best song. Mein Herz in Flammen. I effing hate Wignats. No more brother wars. Yeah, Wignats almost exclusively end up massacring white people. Bandera killed Poles, and I'm Ukrainian. Yeah, they weren't good for the Ukrainians either. I understand a lot of Ukrainians were forced into it. I understand a lot of them were just massively anti-communist. So you join the side that will oppose them. I understand that. But you have these deranged lunatics that you're not going to get a lot of religious extremists in Christianity that are going to be doing these horrid things, like you would be able to radicalize like Islamic groups, which the Western intelligence agencies would never do. But you can push nationalism, especially in Eastern and Southeastern Europe. So that's what they did. And what good has it brought Ukraine except being exploited, having people massacred, like almost half the population fleeing the country? It's genuinely a tragedy, just for Western geopolitical interests. Because everyone who keeps saying like, oh, Russia wants more land, they've got enough land. And why would they want to rule over Ukraine, especially the western part, where they're hated with a burning passion? So it makes no sense. But if you've listened to a lot of top people, especially people like Jay, talk about this, like, if you can convince people that someone is mad and deranged, like they did with Trump, like they did with Putin, like they did with whomever you would want in the Middle East, depends on the day in the Middle East, like you can basically justify any narrative. You don't, because that person isn't thinking logically or strategically, they're just mad. So Putin is a communist and a czarist, a godless fiend and a religious extremist. He's everything that captures every single aspect of the political spectrum. Basically, the not the Foreign Office, the State Department basically says, believe whatever you want from this. The important thing is he's the bad guy, and he's mad, so we need to do something. I've also heard, but not confirmed, when I mentioned the Foreign Office, that the Foreign Office basically told Starmer, what are you doing? Because Starmer was actually more radical, and he listen to the Foreign Office. At least we can say Biden, or at least his advisors, listen to the DOD. So, I was very upset with Peter Hitchens for being so mad at people who were going for what was called the 0 seats campaign in the last British elections. 0 seats referring to wanting the Conservative Party, which is as conservative as you might imagine, to get 0 seats in Parliament as a punishment for 12 years. Was it 12 or maybe even more years of just betrayal after betrayal after betrayal? And here's the beauty of Western democracy. The British people, have consistently been polled to believe that immigration is the worst thing. And they voted for everything possible to stop it. Not just in like their elections, but also in the European elections when they were still part of the European Union. In the referendum to leave the European Union, they did it for that reason as well. So they keep voting right-wing, at least right-wing rhetorics. They don't get a right-wing government. They get, like everyone gets, a centrist government that's going to shift left and right on topics depending on how useful the ruling elites actually find. And systematically, because of the first past the post system, they can only ever get the Conservative Party. But they've been so atrocious. They've broken every single record on immigration. They've done nothing conservative that can be mentioned. I don't think they even do like the symbolic things. I also believe Theresa May intentionally tried to sabotage like the chances of the Conservative Party to not get a massive majority, because then you'll be blamed or held responsible for any decision made. So they're like, oh, let's bring back fox hunting, right? So something that's going to sound awful, like something rich people would support. And fox hunting, by the way, in Britain is like a rich, posh git on horseback with a gun and like not even a pack, like a herd of hunting dogs just tearing apart foxes, and people don't find that very attractive. But nevertheless, they get a massive majority, a historic majority. The working class in the North, which was called the Red Wall, was broken. People broke the decades, sometimes even like a century or so, of voting Labour consistently, just to get a conservative government so they can implement Brexit, stop immigration. And that was being led by one of the worst people in the world, one Alexander Johnson, better known by his stage name Boris Johnson. And he, I don't know, it's like 3 septic tanks worth of poo going on the bed. What you get, more immigration. He then got the lockdowns, obviously, and then broke his own rules, and then had to step down. And honestly, like, I have no words for how much, why, when people ask me why I'm a monarchist, why I hate democracy, because you're going to get a ruling elite. In communism, well, communism is anarchic, but I mean socialism, like Marxism, in capitalism, in feudalism, in every single system, you're going to get a hierarchy of some sorts. That doesn't mean it's good or bad. I mean, you're going to get it. In anarchy, you'd get it. So why would I not support a system that is openly that? Like, okay, you're the nobles, okay, you're the guys in charge, okay, so when something goes wrong, we can blame you. In democracy, you keep switching them out. They can't stay there for too long. I mean, they don't have to stay there for too long. And then people say, oh, well, introduce term limits. That changes nothing. That means they'll just switch them out quickly. So this is where it annoys me, because Britain is probably the most obvious example of why democracy is catastrophic. Democracy is a time delay failure. That's why the US was founded as a constitutional republic. I don't like that talking point, Rethink Inc. Like, I understand what you mean, but by the definition people use, like, basically most Western countries are constitutional republics, right? It's not just direct democracies who just vote. It's a representative democracy, as the US is. You elect people for Congress. It used to be the case that the Senate, the federal Senate at least, was appointed by state legislatures. But nowadays you vote for that too, but you have a constitution that you have to work around. Now, the American obeisance to the Constitution is definitely above what you would find in Europe. So that is a substantial change. But that's why I said I don't like that talking point. In a lot of places in Europe, you can't just vote for whatever you'd like. Let's see. And then he started warmongering. He hasn't stopped DSIMs. Recently, he had attended some conference with Mike Pompeo. I'm not even going to say anything. Talking about how Ukraine should be part of NATO and the EU. And as for Pavle, who says Boris is the true Brexit geezer, Boris wasn't even that much for Brexit. He basically just jumped on the train. He's absolutely horrible. If you want to see how bad he was very early on, like this conservative legend, like certainly a legend in the Conservative Party, or at least was until he actually became prime minister, like, you can watch his appearances on Top Gear, which recently ended. I mean, the trio ended the Grand Tour, and I'm not watching it because if I don't watch it, it's not over. But basically, Jeremy Clarkson, who's probably the most based person in not just England, but Britain, I'm joking about, but I'm exaggerating for comedic effect. But he made this very clear point. You are not switching to electric cars because now you don't burn like fossil fuels. Like, okay, we're not burning petrol. What we're doing is burning coal in a power station and then plugging your car into it. And when Jeremy had challenged Boris, like in the show, he said, "Where's the energy? Where's the electricity coming from, Boris?" And Boris says, "Well, from the plug," which is a decently funny way of avoiding the question. But yeah, Jeremy Clarkson is the quintessential Englishman. Yes. D6, did you see, like, he opened the restaurant or the pub? I think it's a proper restaurant. And it has a list of people who are banned: Keir Starmer, James May. Thoughts on the Coudenhove? I've never heard that pronounced in English. Or Kalergi Plan European Prize. Yeah, it's happening. I made that meme that Jay shared, like everything happening like what the elite said they wanted to do. But it's just a coincidence, and I call this theory of history like things just happen to happen the way the elites said they should for decades and decades, and I call it the Mr. Magoo theory of history. You just keep bumping into these crazy situations. Steam-powered punk life for the win. Whatever happened to Jacob Rees-Mogg? Smug plug. Jacob Rees-Mogg became a legend. Obviously, he is a quintessential English gentleman. But if we try to be very generous with him, aside from his horrible Latin, he was great. He was great pretty great, I believe, even as a backbencher. The moment he became part of the government and was bound by collective responsibility, he shut up on everything. You can watch him. He's now out of parliament. He lost in this last election. He's on GB News now. I honestly don't care anymore. He has basically come out and said what people would have hoped he would say while in government. But if you see him on Question Time with Peter Hitchens, you have Peter Hitchens basically just lecturing him as a child, and Jacob Rees-Mogg knew Peter was correct. He basically just Nemo judex in causa sua. I will never forgive him for pronouncing it that way. What is GB Golden Beaver? GB News. Ireland is Atlantis. If you mean we should sink it, then yes. We are the real controllers. Best part is we can literally say it out loud and everyone laughs and keeps blaming the small, tricksy, small hat wearers, the leprechaun people. Yeah, no one takes you seriously because the accent is so jovial and funny. But yeah, when Andrew came on this channel, I actually put like the Irish happy merchant meme. But I hope, Baron, you're looking forward to President McGregor in the near future. How the mighty Sinn Féin has fallen, though, we should mention. There were these hardcore nationalist left wing, but nationalists, and now they're out progressiving like the Squad. in the US. Yeah, the fighter. He's running for president of Ireland. Good job to him. Like the way like topics flow in this on this channel is outstanding. I can't finish like one thing. I shifted, then I read a comment and shifted even further, and gracious. More like shin gay. That's a great one, D Sims. I'm emphasizing that for. I mean, the Irish already don't know how to spell. Like it's like a joke. Both Irish and Scottish Gaelic is just not even a vague suggestion. I say English. What annoys me in English is like the spelling is a vague, basically even a recommendation on how a word should be pronounced. And like in the Gaelic languages, it's just more confusing. After you read a word, the more you read it, the less you know how to pronounce it. Ireland's politics are ruining my ancestral home, just following the rest of the Western world. And people don't think countries are working together to push an agenda. Yeah, and we're talking about Ireland, not known for its colonialism and like the white people. Like, what have the Irish done before they went to New York? But what they enslaved St. Patrick? They made up for that one. They make it up to him every year by getting drunk. But what? They were colonized themselves. Which is why I think if any country in the West has a chance of actually opposing the agenda, it's going to be Ireland. It's outstanding, what's happening. Like we need to make it. You need to make it up to Africa as Irishmen. Rubbish. Because Irish drink so much beer. R.I.P. says Pupshi. I'm not Indian, am I? Hello, R.I.P. You've been waiting for this stream for like a week, and I finally did it. Holy Island secretly saving the West again, definitely. D-Sims, although I've been corrected that being ginger is more of a Scottish thing than an Irish thing, at least you're ginger, so when the Irish take over, listen, watch a lot of the what's his name? Goodness, I can't remember his name. The actor with the famous actor. Never mind, the joke is already dead. Watch a lot of Irish television, practice the accent, so when the time comes, you'll be ready. Rank all the national cuisines, Posh. Not sure. I'm Liam Neeson. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm not much of a gourmand, but so I can't really tell you. I'm one of those people who eats to live, not lives to eat. I just like hearty food. I like Italian cuisine. Haven't really had a lot of French cuisine. I think the British Empire didn't commit crimes as heinous as British cuisine. So my family roots are in County Tyrone. Yeah, I love how that's like a black guy name. It's a county and it's a region of Ireland. I heard about it from that song Irish Rover. On the 4th of July, 1806. British cuisine is based. I miss the war between like British food and like different foods, especially I think it was Britain and Mexico going at it. Tyrone is about 2 hours from me. Well, a lot of people in America say that, and it's basically a distress call. The goats count as Albanian cuisine. They count as Albanian women. Oh, goodness. American cuisine is fried chicken and hamburger. Yeah, Americans are good with like barbecue. Yeah, Americans have, with all the jokes aside, they're good with that. I don't understand, like, one massive taboo in Serbia as far as food is concerned: you don't mix sweet and savory. You don't. So I've never understood, like, oh, let's ruin this meat by using honey and like whatever sauces, like sauce with cherries to eat with meat. It's disgusting. Hot dogs are freedom tacos. I still believe the national dish of America is the deep fried slushy, whatever they're called. Okay. It's pronounced cookout. Oh, okay, right. Fair enough. England fought countless wars conquering the world for spices and just boil everything in water. The spice section in the market is just one shelf 2 foot long. Just have this bovril with whatever you're eating. Yeah, well, you've got to respect like the absolute devotion to profiting of the spices. They don't get high on their own supply, if you will. It's birthday party day, Posh. Now, okay, DPH is going in half an hour. Okay, so after that, I'll stop. Let me check this out. Goodness. So I bow out before he starts. 35th birthday. How is everyone older than me? For goodness gracious. Okay, so I can rant for a bit more and then send you folks over. I actually can't do the raid thing, so I'll just have to have one of the mods post a link. Got Guns and Glory is Danish? Are you Danish descent? Or like Danish American, or are you Danish? 33 Freemason confirmed. Yes, Bosch line. It's a Sunday miracle. I'm 24-year-old man. Thank you. I think the last time I complained about this, you also came in to remind me that I am actually an old man, which I appreciate. Bosch, if you ever do merch, I want those headphones. I'll ask for sponsorships. Oh, look at me, I'm so young and sexy. Why am I cursed with this youth? No, I just feel like I've known everyone here since they were a boy. But that's just because I'm old on the inside. Posh, is it your actual birthday today, or has it been in the past? The Friday before the last one. So yeah, it's not yet, but DPH is 5 years older than me. Baron's like 10 years older than me, but they've got beards, so I can deal with that. Headphones. When are you starting the Minecraft Let's Play? I'm too autistic to be speaking while playing Minecraft. I'll just be counting how big the village needs to be to have a massive church in the middle. But maybe in the future I will actually do that, because I like Minecraft. It's an autist's dream. I've always been gameplay over graphics. I'm a 41-year-old woman with a beard, and nowadays that can't even land you a job. It used to, but you can thank the left, the libtards. You're a week older than me, Posh. Wow. Finally, there are two people I'm older than. Randy is the same age as DPH. He dresses snappy, so he looks his age. Yes, my birthday was on Friday the 13th. Thank you for reminding me. When is your name day? 27th of January, St. Sava's Day, on the old calendar. Okay, D-Sims is 26. Okay, I thought you were older. So you're a youngling. Pravoslavicon is 29. Austin DeTullo is 28. Nice. 52. Who's 52? Craig P is 52. Ooh, you get like elder status then. Someone asked something, I believe. No, I asked God Guns and Glory if he was Danish. And he said, German? Goodness. Nice. Who's 34? Wait, so Baron. Michael Knowles is 34? Damn, his Sicilian youthfulness. I did not expect that, but I suppose being gay keeps you looking young. I love when Michael Knowles talks about like the gender nonsense. He's like, women like to have men to protect them. From what? Like a horny bisexual is the only thing you can protect her from. And he would defend her enthusiastically. I'm not even drunk, and I'm pretty mean, which is nice. I wouldn't read that out loud, D-Sims, but yeah. German, the only people so much better. The whole world is needed to be us. Okay, I probably mean against us. Pages could take us down. Oh God, the jokes about the Hezbollah thing is outstanding. Michael Knowles will protect women from medium-sized fifth graders. If they've got like cerebral palsy or something. From themselves, probably. That's the joke Norm MacDonald did on Letterman's last show. And Germans, they went to war. And whom did they go to war against? The world. And you think it would take 5 minutes to get it sorted out. But it was close. Can't do a Norm impression, sorry. Just turned 49 on September 1st. And my little boy turned 4 July 21st. I am a late bloomer. The important thing is to get it done. Obviously, everyone would think, I should have done it when I was younger, but it's important that it happened, and God bless you and him. But it's just him and I. He's a conversation starter with women, and the women start the conversation. bit of an over-investment for a conversation start. Now the troons are women, they legitimately need protection, though. Okay, I'm thinking of jokes that I can't say. You have to imagine, how free Shane Gillis feels when he's doing the Trump impression, like in both like the Kill Tony shows where he did a full show in makeup and everything. He is working. I said this to Jim Bob. He's working on bringing back the F slur, and if he does it, like, we should build him a statue. Really, your son is starting high school next year. That's awesome. I mean, I'm sure it's not all pleasant, because high school is not known for being easy to control, but there has to be a lot of pride there as well. Okay, it's this cigarette, or should I continue ranting until we get to DPH, so I can send you over? The Esla never left where you're from, Slowboy Whiteboard. Like in Serbian, it also never left, but it's obviously a different word. But it's what people call our president. So. But we can save the West by bringing back the F slur in both its iterations, the abbreviated ones, one and the full one. It's one of the most fun words to say. So it's against human rights to ban it, but we have to live in the times we're in. I don't know if YouTube algorithms would pick up me using like Serbian profanity. Ireland was built by the F slur. The French. Are you more a ranter or banterer? Banterer. I rant, but I have to be properly upset and a bit drunk. But banter is like, there are places where banter is how you communicate with everyone. Serbia is definitely one of those places. Ireland was built by the F slurs. That can be taken in two different ways. Like F slurs. Goodness. Oh, you may not have noticed, I was also wrapped up on the DPH stream, and I got a burn, and it was from doing heroic stuff, and not at all getting a burn on a pot like a retard. I was saving kittens from the boiler room. I can't say puppies, no one would believe me. I got burned by throwing them in. Oh, goodness. We used to have simple, corrupt, evil leaders like Charlie Horty and Bertie Ahern. Now we have psychopathic globalist shills. Yeah, and they all suck, and they talk poorly, they look horrible. Back in the day, at least, they'd have the riz. Like you get like a king dressed up in fancy robes and capes and crowns and stuff, and they'd look the part. And you're like, okay, at least I'm being oppressed by someone extremely rich and powerful, and looks the part. Nowadays, you get Bill Gates, who looks like pathetic, and you can't even get the satisfaction of thinking, well, I'm oppressed by someone who's impressive. Saving kittens from the Haitians. Haitians would come to Serbia and then beg to be sent back to Haiti. Not enough N-words here for that word to have traction. As a kid doing eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I never knew that it was I was grabbing by the toe. Oh, I think I know what you mean. Struggling, sir. Yes, this burn, heroic burn, costs $5,000. All right. I should have been drinking for this, but it's good to be back just a bit. So I'll see when the next stream is. I'll have to work something out with Jim Bob on because he's been doing almost daily streams now. To ask him to end a bit earlier, like at 10 p.m. so I can start, because 11 p.m. is when he usually stops, and that's a bit late to start, unless it's some shorter topic. Drago Michin says, never look for early life section of the people prominent pro-immigration. Yep. Well, I also agree you should never look it up because it's so obvious. I'll drink enough for both of us. Thank you, God, Guns, and Glory. There's that German gene. Especially because you'll probably be drinking beer, which is, if you're drinking in my name, what I should expect. Not whiskey. You've seen the WKUK skit Chicken Not Kitten? No. I may look it up, though, if I don't forget. Politics is just modern day Roman bread and circuses, especially in the US. It's both hilarious and depressing. That's its reality. Well, that's basically life. Like, most people don't care about politics. Like, I think even without the bread and circuses, people, I mean, obviously bread, if people are starving, good luck, but people don't really care for politics unless it directly impacts them in a very stark way. People just don't care. So I think it's overused as if, okay, in the United States, no more NFL, no more NBA. And then people say, wait, what is happening around the country? No, they wouldn't. Like, ban all the sports, people will find something else to watch, like stand-up comedy and things like that. People don't care about politics, which is why democracy is again a mistake. And we shouldn't expect people to care about politics unless you just want to end up being embittered and some type of self-congratulatory, self-important nihilism that people gain, like, and start watching bloody, Carlin. It's a big club and you ain't in it. Yeah, I know. Thank you for sharing that edgy high school realization. When's the debut of The Baron and the Redneck stream? I don't know. We'll figure something out for this week. Blue Skittle says nothing. It's our favorite type of super chat. Sends $10. Thank you, Blue Skittle, considering how it's spelled. Let's see. It was good to see you on a live stream. Thank you. It's good to be back. I'm easing back into it. I use like the Cotel stream as like a springboard to get back into it, because I don't speak a lot of English outside of these streams. I write and read a lot of English and listen to it, but I don't speak a lot of it because I'd have to speak with myself, and that's not the healthiest of habits. Politics became a business with cable news, then it became clown world. Well, it was always, in a sense, a business. But the thing is, the populace became distracted enough and dumbed down enough that you don't even have to be a good rhetorician. You don't have to be competent at anything, basically. You just need to look presentable. Someone you can have a beer with. I don't care to drink a beer with political leaders. I care that they do the bloody job correctly. Sprechen Sie Englisch? Natürlich. I speak German to myself. The Baron of Renner coming second quarter of 2025. I don't know. We'll arrange something, Baron. I still need to finish that logo. Whoops. I don't know. We need to first get through American elections. The world needs to survive it. John Fetterman. Yeah, that's going for like the suburban vote. And whom did Republicans place against him? Dr. Oz. Put a bloody supplement shill in a time where people, and especially right-leaning people, are being very, very disillusioned with pharmaceuticals. Yeah, great job. Will your next stream be in 10 months? Well, let's hope so. As I said, probably Tuesday. The American election has been very entertaining. Yeah, Trump, when he gets back into his proper self, is actually better than when he's being presidential. Because he's not good at being presidential. You know, yeah, everyone knows that politicians are reading prompters, but if that's all you basically ever get, at least it's something you're accustomed to. And obviously there are times you need to just have a speech, but his rallies are so fun, and they are legitimately fun, because he just he actually has excellent comedic timing, and he's funny and it's fun. So yeah, why would you try to go and read a boring speech? And people who support you already support you, and it's just going to be boring for them. And people who don't like you aren't going to like you anymore. And people who are neutral won't mind. It affects nothing. Well, Emmanuel says, I hear English so clear in my head, then I speak it and feel like I'm arriving somewhere in a boat to enrich the culture and economy by eating the local pets. Yeah, you know how I said that Quebecois French is like French but worse? Well, Haitian French is like Quebecois French but worse. So I hope in your head you don't hear Haitian French. You hear Spanish. And okay, I speak French, I don't speak Spanish, so it's difficult for me to roast Spanish now. I mean, to roast French over Spanish, sorry. Zam Haitian cannibals. Yeah. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the pets. I genuinely laughed for 10 minutes when I heard that. And then someone made like a meme, which message is going to resonate with the people more? I believe we share more in common than separates us. Or they're eating the dog. Yeah. What's your beef with dogs? Haitians wouldn't understand that question. Or you can say, what's your dog with cows? They're interchangeable, I mean. Not that much. I just find them annoying. But what radicalized me was mostly the dog people. That's what made them annoying. So yeah, they bite you in the Balkans. Yeah, and then you can sue the local government and get money. And if you're a member of a certain Europe-wide minority, you know how to use that to your advantage. Right. So we've got about 15 more minutes. Let's finish the Chrislam point after a solid hour since we left it. Right, so like no Muslim has ever called me goy, but they call you a kafir. So I started explaining how the Quran is not chronologically ordered. Chronologically, the last surah of the Quran is Surah 8. Surah means chapter, if I need to remind you of that. And in it, it says that the worst of creatures are people of the book, which would basically, or people of the scriptures, depending on how you translate it, which is basically Christians and Jews who reject Islam. So at least the Talmud calls you cattle. The Quran calls you worse than that. Goodness. Let me. So, there's a channel called I Hate Dogs. He hates them to a hilarious degree. That's like my spiritual brother or something. Big, friendly, obedient dogs are the best. Small dogs pampered by old Karens are the worst. Oh, look, I've got Union Jack. Free range dogs lay here before we join the EEC, Baron. Okay, I'm not addressing the DQ right now. So here's a bit of a useful topic outside of all the ranting. Like, as far as the term goy is concerned, like it's not inherently an insult. It just means like a nation. And in the Bible, in Hebrew, it refers to Israel itself as a nation, as a goy. So the term Gentile was a translation introduced by Saint Jerome for the term goyim. So when God establishes Israel from the refugees of Egypt, the differentiation is you've got these nations who are under demonic influence, right? Because the gods of the nations are demons, right? And Israel is set up as a new nation, which is why the term "the chosen" isn't exactly correct. It's also not. It's not genetic. It's not ethnic in the modern sense we use the term. It's in the ancient sense. The term ethnos was used, but it just means people of the nations as far as people outside of Israel. Now, in a sense, as I said, you could call everyone a goy because they're people of a certain nation, but in context, it's people outside of Israel. And it can be used and is used as an insult as much as you can use Jew as an insult. But you can also use it, even you can be like Philo-Semitic or something. DVH versus Posh from the DQ debate win. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I will represent that position without fail. Chosen is a cartoon show. It's very F-slurry. That's a good. Kafir. Oh yeah, kafir, like the yogurt-like thing. Yeah, kefir. So Muslims basically call us yogurt. Yeah, not uniting after being called that. I wonder what Talmud says that Jews are allowed to do to Gentiles. The thing about the Talmud is people who criticize the Jews and stuff, it's technically wrong to say the Talmud is like the other Bible or something. So the Talmud is a collection, the vast majority of the Talmud is a collection of rabbinic commentaries. And you've got the really vile ones, and you've got pretty conciliatory ones. So you can't pluck out a quote and say, oh, this is what the Talmud says. So the vile things are in there. We know about what can be done to Gentiles because you have the rabbis that actually believed that Gentiles are cattle and can be killed, can be R-worded and stuff. You've also got the liberal ones. You've got the New York rabbis. So that's one thing. It's technically wrong. So it shouldn't be used in such a manner because it can. A person who knows about it can just say you're an ignoramus. You don't know what you're talking about. So yeah. The rabbinic, yeah, it's like trying to collect something after the fall of the temple. And whoever asked me, how realistic is the third temple stuff? I don't think it's happening. They tried once under Emperor Julian the Apostate. Didn't turn out well. So surely they mean Arabs and Persians, not us Europeans. Yeah, obviously. So I don't like rhetoric that is too escalatory on the front unless it's very correct. Because, it's one thing to quote the Quran, which isn't even like quoting the Bible. It's literally quoting Allah himself, right? He has eternally said these words, right? It's not even like scriptures the way we see them, like God breathed and stuff, but it's not like quoting God. It's like the entire thing is basically like the who had the Bible with just the Jesus quotes. It's not Washington. I think it was someone else, like one of the American founders. Like that's basically how the Quran functions. What's stopping them from building a third now? The dome of the mosque. And I don't think they should anger the Arabs and the Muslims more than they already have. But basically, Jefferson, right? Thank you, Furby Slayer. Great name. But the dome of the mosque is now on the Temple Mount, so they'd have to just demolish it, and that's just not going to work. I'm still laughing about it. At least the Talmud calls us cattle. Goodness, mashallah. But yeah, Islam calls for violent subjugation, and you can, like, what's allowed for sex is your wives and what your right hand possesses, which means women captured in war. So, war booty. And because you can wage war against people who reject Allah, I know you will have people who will quote like the Quran because it has peaceful verses in it. If you've heard the famous one, to kill an innocent man is like killing the whole world, that's literally from the Talmud. That's a quote from the Talmud by logic of, you not only killed this person, you've stopped him from having descendants who would have their own children and their own children. So you've killed so many more, even though you've directly only killed one person. So yeah, that's they found one peaceful quote in the Talmud, right? But as I said, chronologically, the final surah is Surah 9. it's very clear that we are the worst of creatures, and you can do whatever you'd like. So, yeah, fun stuff. Islam causes gay. Don't be Muslim. Agreed. They have some questionable beliefs. Yeah, I'm still working on in 5 minutes. DPH sent me an invite link. Let me just tell him that I'll stop the stream once he starts. So you start and send the good folks. Right. Okay, there we are. So let's turn on like a notification. Well, someone mentioned it to me so I don't have to check my phone. Okay, there we are. He's seen the message. So he sent you call-in link for panel. Yes. So I'll jump on once I go to the bathroom and stuff. So yes, you can like the stream, although it's just a ranting stream. I'll do something useful on Tuesday. But this is just getting back into the fray. Tell DPH that the Baron sends his royal congratulations. Nice. Awesome. We've got a great community here, like us and Jim Bob and Andrew, Jay, and stuff. It's so great that the chat does like more than half the jokes that are made on stream. So I'd like to express my appreciation for you people for being a great audience. So thank you for being here. And Dr. Crispy Johnson has, damn it, I can't bloody pin this from here. Baron call in to the Cotel panel. No, he can't. He's going into that Irish whiskey of his. You don't deserve the chat, Bosch. Yes. I'm just an old 30-year-old man. Appreciation for the Gentile. Yes, people who are not subscribed to the channel are Gentiles. I'm pretty good at almost saying something that will get me in trouble. It comes with coming from a former communist country. You need to know how to tame what you're trying to say. Right. As I said, this was just ranting. Whatever we want to do, we got you. Thanks, Bosch. Thank you very much, Charisma Mysterion. It's great. It's great. I'll have to enable memberships soon, but as I said, I won't start them until I'm sure I will stream consistently, because that will be unfair to people. So hopefully I'll have that ready on Thursday. Can't on Tuesday because I've got yard work to do, and because my hand was injured and wrapped up, I had to be careful not to get my hands and the thing too dirty, so it heals up properly. And I'm late for after the drought ended and we had rain. Now the grass is growing tall again, and I've been rearranging certain things, certain leftover building materials from when we were redoing the house. So there's work to be done, and I'll be doing that tomorrow. So that's why I said I cannot guarantee for Tuesday, because I want to prepare like icons and stuff like that. And you will have to find out what the tiers are called once I set them up, but I have the names ready. Excuses. Oh, I can always jump on and rant or banter or whatever. But that's at least I should have that organized. I have topics for it. This was just completely impromptu, and I think of something that makes me angry, and then talk about it for 5 minutes, and then talk about like something completely not even tangentially connected to what I started talking about. Thursday, so in like a month. Okay, so DPH is live. Yes, he is. So everyone click the link posted by Dr. Crispy Johnson. Join DPH for his celebration. I'll probably hop on for a bit myself. Send your regards. I can't imagine Posh angry. Few can, until they do, and then it's legitimately concerning for people because they're so unaccustomed to it. Okay, right. That's it. No more prolonging this. See you folks over there. Thank you for being here, and God bless.